ladies and gentlemen, this is ChessRabbitt, and welcome to another edition of Anatoly Karpov, Dragon Killer. This is the third game, and this one's played. Karpov was playing Donald Byrne, the younger brother of Robert Byrne. He playing Donald Byrne in the 1972 tournament in San Antonio, which is a very good tournament. As a matter of fact, I think I will be highlighting some of the games of that tournament because it was a very elite tournament that was played in 1972, and in there is where Karpov met Fischer for one of the first times in some of their meetings that they had. They met there, and I hear there are pictures of the historic meeting, but I haven't seen any service on the internet of Karpov meeting Fischer. But this is one of the places where Karpov met Fischer. Although Fischer did not play in the tournament, he did go to the tournament to check it out. Anyway, Anatoly Karpov, Donald Byrne, B7-7, Sicilian Dragon, starts off, of course, with, well, you have to start off almost every Sicilian with the same move, E4, C5, Knight F3, D6, D4, CD, Knight takes D4, Knight F6, Knight C3, and G6, and here we have the familiar dragon protecting the F5 square. Bishop E3, the Yugoslav attack. Bishop G7, F3, consolidating G4 and also protecting the pawn on E4 as a way so that this knight can be freed up a little bit, and this bishop and knight don't really have to protect this pawn on D4, and they can commence on with attacking the king once the king submits itself on the king side. And it does with, let's go back, F3, black castles, Queen D2, aiming for the trade on the C6 square, on the H6 square, Knight C6, Bishop C4, and here A5. Donald Byrne goes with A5. Previous tries have been met. Previous tries from other people have been Bishop D7 and Bishop D3 by white, and here we have Rook C8, which was played by Kaplan in the game Campos Lopez Kaplan San Antonio 1972, the same tournament where, of course, Kaplan went on to win the game. You can check that game out in the 1972 tournament, or I may be highlighting these games later. Like I said, I'm going to be doing the tournament later. So A5 was played by Byrne, and Anatoly Karpov doesn't want that pawn to be coming past the frontier line here, so he plays A4. Knight takes D4, bishop takes D4, doing some consolidating. Here, if queen was to take D4, then we would have Knight G4, attacking the bishop, attacking the queen, so the queen would have to move away to D3, and Knight E5, moving the knight from the F6 square to the E6 square, attacking the knight and the bishop, and attacking the queen and the bishop, and putting the knight on a nice central square. So bishop takes D4, bishop E6, bishop E5, not looking to trade light square bishops at this time. Karpov moves it away. Rook C8, grabbing half open C file for black, and castles queen side. This donates that Anatoly Karpov is ready to attack. Usually when you see opposite side castling in these dragon defenses, like we said so far, we've seen the attack. That's the attacking formation. Castling long and going H4. Although we don't see H4 in this game, he plays H3 first, then later plays H4, but we do see it. Alternative moves to castling queenside, of course, is Rook D1 and Bishop C4, trading off the light square bishops. So castle long, Knight D7, Bishop takes G7, King takes G7, and taking away this bishop on G7 is nice, pretty diagonal. A lot of the games that I have seen The reason why you put this bishop on g7, like I said in other previous videos, is to have this nice long diagonal attacking this king. Well, in a lot of the videos and a lot of the games that I have been looking at, that this bishop gets traded off a lot, either on the g7 square or the h6 square. So it's sort of, it's like, well, I know the bishop is supposed to be there and it does its job, but it gets traded off, and now instead of black using this long diagonal, now white gets to use this long diagonal because the squares, the dark squares, are now weak around the black king. So that move actually seems to be sort of a trade-off to me. Anyway, we're going with that f4. Anatoly Karpov beginning to grab space. Knight f6, attacking the e4 square. Rook h to e1. Queen c7, taking control of the half open c file for black. Queen d4. So right now these guys are just maneuvering, filling each other out, making sure their pieces are better. They're maneuvering, making sure their pieces are better, putting their pieces on optimal squares, and then they will attack. Rook f d8, rook d2. As you saw before, the bishop was eyeing the g4 square, attacking the d1 rook. So Karpov moves it out of the way before he can get a chance to even play that move. d5, e takes d5, bishop takes d5, queen e5. The computer seems to think a better move, or actually that was the better move. A least better move, of course, is knight takes d5, attacking the queen, and of course exposing his own queen in the process. Where black could easily respond with rook takes d5, queen e3, knight g4, queen c3 check, queen takes c3, b takes c3, rook takes d2, king takes d2, and e6. And here black stands a little better, and he's attacking this h2 pawn, and black stands just a little bit better. Instead of going e6 there, black could go for the immediate knight takes h2, rook takes e7, b6, shoring up this rook, these pawns, and rook d7 attacking this pawn, and white would be gobbling up these pawns in short order, and white would stand better. So the move, so you don't want to take on d5 with the knight here, so the better move is to go queen e5, e6, securing the bishop, rook e d1, doubling rooks on the open d5 for white this time, b6, shoring up this pawn just in case some shenanigans happen later, and he's also freeing his pawn. Okay, here queen takes e5 would be met with f takes d5 and g4, attacking the pawn. So b6, bishop a6, attacking the c8 rook. Here, if knight takes d5, that could be met with rook takes d5, queen takes c7, and rook takes c7. And you will have some more trades on the d file. And of course, this position would be equal. So let's just say you can go further with take. Let's say, well, knight could take, and this position would be a little equal. h5, bishop c8. Now here, instead of bishop takes c8, if knight takes d5, rook takes d5, queen takes c7, rook takes c7, saving his rook, and this position would have been equal. Of course, worse would have been for black if rook takes d5 instead of knight takes d5. If rook would take d5, then e takes d5, bishop takes c8, rook takes c8, queen takes f6 check, king takes f6, knight d5, forking the king and queen, king f5, knight takes c7, and rook takes c7, where of course white would stand a little bit better. White has an extra pawn. Well, white stands a little better in this position. A little slight advantage for white. Next move will probably, as you see, rook to d6, attack the b6 square, attack the b6 pawn. Rook takes c8, h3. Here, Karpov probably could have went off for some more simplification. Rook takes d5, e takes d5, rook takes d5, queen takes e5, rook takes e5, knight g4. Attacking the rook and the h2 pawn. Of course, the rook could move over to b6, where you would have play similar to this continuing. And white would stand a little better here. h3 was played in the game. Queen takes e5, f takes e5, knight e4, knight takes e4, bishop takes e4, rook e2, attacking the bishop. Bishop moves out of the way and plants itself on d5. Great square. Rook d4, rook c5, h4, f5, e takes f6, en passant, king takes f6, rook f4 check, king g7. Here, if king were to go to e7, then that would be followed up by g6. So the king goes to g7, rook e5. So this bishop now cannot attack g2, or else he would have to trade off here, but still he'll be picking up a pawn. Rook c7, g3, rook c6, king d2, rook c7. Right now, Donald Byrne is just maneuvering his rook up and down the c file, looking for a space to put his rook. First he was at c7, then he went to c6, and now the rook goes back to c7. So right now he's looking for a plan. d3, just shoring up some, restricting some more squares of the light squared bishop. So his bishop is having less and less squares to maneuver on the white side of the board. Rook d7, looking for a surprise attack. Karpov spots that. King e3, moving his king closer to the center. Rook e7, protecting his pawn just in case. g4, Karpov's inching closer and closer and closer. H takes g4, rook takes g4, king f6. Here, if bishop f6, then we would have c4, and the bishop will not be able to come back to the d5 square and be restricted even further. King f6, rook e g5, attacking the g5 square, rook h7, attacking this square, and the coup de grace, rook takes g6, winning a pawn and thus winning the game because Donald Byrne here resigns. After rook takes g6 check, king f7, and the rook will come back to protect the square, have control of this file, and the rest is pretty much technique. So, as you see, Anatoly Karpov is pretty much a dragon killer. This was a positional game. This was not really an attacking game. They sort of felt their way around the position, but it was still only 40 moves long, so that's pretty good for a positional player to attack and to take care of the game in just 40 moves. Like I said, this game was played in San Antonio in 1972. What a great tournament, and like I said, I may be doing videos on that tournament. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, Game 3, Anatoly Karpov, Donald Byrne, Dragon Killers. Thank you, and have a nice day. Until next time, bye-bye.